So moving on, so about again looking forward to the others, to the other principles. One of the big talks in privacy right now with this technology relates to the capability of the end users. So, for example, if you're in Europe, we'll talk about those subjects. How do you see, so you might know that, within the regulation, the GDPR, for instance, data subjects have more rights over the data, meaning that, say, I see my data being processed by an AI algorithm, I can still exercise my rights according to Article 15 and so on of the GDPR to, I don't know more about what the processing is about, to exercise my right to portability and so on and so forth. So I'm just wondering how, for example, how would you go and treat those exercise of rights, knowing that the data can be absorbed by the algorithm and without having, a very good understanding of where the data is and how it might be split. So if you have maybe a couple of ideas here.
Yeah. So in our case, we deploy algorithms at the edge, so on device completely. And once the algorithm is deployed, it doesn't learn anymore. So it's on the device. We don't record data from the users. Everything is processed locally. We don't have remote servers where we stream data to. So after it's been trained, our AI algorithm during the whole life cycle doesn't collect data. So there is not really a GDPR subject at this stage. It's more of a concern at the training stage, where we do collect a lot of data to train our algorithms. Because we have specific microphones. Anyway, we need specific and custom data. And here we have the agreement of the people from who we record, and we train from them. And if we receive requests to delete the data from one of the participants, we will have to delete it from the data. And because our models are very small and they cannot encapsulate all the data, which is not the case in large language models, for example, they cannot encapsulate all the data that they're trained from. Our standpoint today is that the model doesn't need to change if we remove part of the training data. Just next time we retrain it for updates of the algorithms for the users, we won't use the data, we delete it, but we won't retrain every time a user asks to remove data from the database.
And so maybe a small tangent here. So how frequent do you need to retrain your model? Is this something that you do on a, monthly basis, on a yearly basis? How does this work? Because when you look at life cycle of data, so you might have those kind of events, maybe you have more data. How does it work when we're talking about retraining or training models?
So for now, we haven't deployed our product yet. So we train models which are not deployed every week because we are in a development stage. But when we sell the product, we will want to do what is called over-the-air updates. So updates of the software which runs on the glasses every 3 to 6 months. So every 3 to 6 months, there would be a new version of the algorithms which are improved. But in the meantime, in the company, we would retrain all the time because there is a R&D department that needs to find to produce this better performing model every 3 months. So and then there is the question of quality. How do you make sure? So you need to have a quality control. So we train model all the time, and then we have to be able to assess that we improve intelligibility compared to the previous model. We cover all the edge cases. So there are also an important part is setting up the test cases and the test suite, basically.
Okay, and maybe one last tangent, because I think that's something that is also correlated with the fact that how how can you deal with those rights being exercised within, from a practical point of view? We were talking about this when we were preparing the interview. Is it possible for a model to de-learn or unlearn?
I think it's a new field. Google recently launched a machine unlearning challenge I think it's specifically targeted for large language models in the regulatory space. Say you have a norm that doesn't apply anymore and you don't want to retrain your whole model to make sure that it's not in the database anymore. Maybe you just want to unlearn that part. But yeah, I think it's a new field that gather a lot of interest, but I don't think it's mature enough to say that we can confidently unlearn anything from the models.